Graffiti, by its very nature, can be pretty controversial. After all, it is largely rooted in illegality even to this day, and it has a long and rich history with plenty of illegality throughout. That being the case, though, there are still even places today that would be controversial among graffiti writers to do graffiti. And that's why today we're going to be talking about the top 6 controversial places to do graffiti. So let's get into it. Now, this list is going to be organized from least controversial to most controversial, in a sense that the ones near the bottom of this list are pretty universally agreed upon by people in most graffiti circles as places where you just don't do graffiti, and they're big no-nos. Whereas the ones near the top of the list might actually spark some disagreement in the comments. Viewer beware of the comments. Number 6 on this list is one that I would hope everybody is smart enough to understand is just a big no-no place to do graffiti, and that is of course because it is on graves and memorials. Whether it be a war memorial or a park bench memorial, or of course graves in general, it's pretty universally agreed upon, even by the real shitheads in the community, that those are just not places you do graffiti. If you have no better places to put your graffiti, then I think you need a bit of help, to put it mildly. But I don't think I need to talk too much about that one, so let's move on to a happier topic. Coming in at number 5 on this list is at least a place that statistically writers seem to avoid doing graffiti, and that is of course on churches. Churches or any religious symbol usually are just not where you want to be doing graffiti, you know? I think most people in this kind of case go by the saying live and let live, in the sense that they're not too bothered by people's religions. If you happen to be watching this from a non-graffiti artist standpoint, I think it's important, being a graffiti artist, for me to emphasize that the stuff you see on churches or memorials and stuff like that, that's not graffiti. That is like not what graffiti is about. That's like hate crimes and all that kind of thing, and that's absolutely not in any way what graffiti is. So it's important to make that distinction, because obviously, if you're less involved with graffiti, the lines can blur between people who are just scribbling hate crimes on places and what graffiti actually is. Not everyone knows the difference, so it's important that as graffiti writers we sort of address that and make sure people understand the differences between those people and actual graffiti writers and artists. And just as a side note, I feel like it's important to let everyone know that in Canada, at least, I don't know about other places obviously, if you are charged with some sort of graffiti related offense, they usually go after you, charging you with mischief, and public mischief is a hybrid offense, which means it can be indictable or it can be the lower one. But if you are being charged with mischief in relation to something that's been interpreted as a hate crime, say painting on a religious monument or a church or something really dumb like that that you should have never gone near, it gets upgraded huge, and you're gonna find the Crown prosecuting you closer to the full extent of that hybrid charge, which carries a max penalty of 14 years in prison. So how about we just all avoid hate crimes? That would be great. Number 4 on this list of controversial places to do graffiti is still one that's pretty universally agreed upon as a no-no, and that is on either people's houses or their cars. We're talking about private citizens' cars and houses here, not really businesses as much. That's a later topic, but I think most people understand that even just from a financial standpoint, the financial burden that causes an individual is a lot higher than, say, the burden is for like Walmart if they have to buff a wall or something like that. So really the difference is there, and that's not really the point of graffiti again either. So I would still say that largely the people doing this, it's either there's some personal motivations there, which you see, or again some sort of hate crimes, which I can't emphasize enough is not what graffiti is about. We're not about hate crimes here, people, unless we're beefing with each other, in which case it sort of gloves off apparently, because that's how the graffiti community works. Don't ask me why. So we're in the top 3 territory now on this list, and this is really where we start to get some of the actually controversial places here that there might be some disagreement among writers about if these are legitimate, valid places to be doing graffiti or not, to be getting those tags in, those throws, even maybe those pieces, I don't know. By the way, if you like my shirt, you can check it out in the description. First link in the description is where you can get one. And number 3 is something that I don't mind saying this, I personally find this disgusting. If you're someone who does this, stay far away from me. And that place is doing graffiti on people, aka like drunk people or hobos, especially. If you're doing that, what the hell are you doing? But apparently this one sort of is a little controversial, because often enough you'll see there's like many graffiti videos floating around the internet where occasionally you'll see one where there's like a hobo sleeping on the sidewalk and someone will just throw a tag on the guy's sweater on his back and they think it's a grand old time. And it's like, if you're that thick that you're willing to ruin that homeless guy's one sweater that he has, you know, he's not like he's gonna go out to the JC Penney and just get another sweater. Is that a place where people get sweaters? I hope so. If you're willing to do that, then I just don't know how to help you, you know? And again, I think this one largely comes down to, it's just like, how pedantic do you want to be? Like, are you all about, you know, getting up everywhere, or is there just actually better places to be doing graffiti? That's my take on it, and that's sort of been my take on the previous 3 we've talked about as well, to sum that up. But like I said before, if you're the type of person putting your tag on some unfortunate drunk people or hobos without their permission, then just stay away from me, please. Number 2 on this list is actually sort of like a weird one, I guess. I don't really know how I feel about this one, to be honest. You know, that's my question of the day. How do you feel about this? And what it is graffiti on trees. How do you feel about graffiti on trees? Leave it in the comments. Maybe this one's a little bit, at least we can have a little bit of fun with it. I guess for this one, like, maybe it has to do with the location of the trees. Like, I think some people find it sort of counterproductive to be putting like graffiti on nature, maybe, or something like that. I don't know. Like I said, it's a weird one, I guess. I'll be interested to see what you guys say in the comments. Have you guys ever tagged a tree? Is that something that you guys have done? Was it life-changing? Don't answer that. And the number 1 most controversial place among graffiti writers specifically, I will remind you, to be doing graffiti is, like I said, it's going to be the most controversial one on storefronts, or small business fronts, I guess, to be more particular about it. Now, I think a lot of people, when I say that, are going to be like, what? Like, that's a classic spot, right? And to a certain degree, yes. But what I more mean is not those nice little pull-down garage doors that a lot of those small business downtown type storefronts have, that they pull down at night to not only prevent graffiti, but also to prevent people breaking windows and or looting their store. If those garage door things are rolled down, I think that's absolutely fair game. Most people would agree, probably. That doesn't really affect the business in any way. It just is something that gets rolled up when the business opens, out of the way, and you're good. And I'm also not talking about the sort of like big box stores that have little kiosks of stuff on like strip malls and that sort of thing, because, you know, again, big business type thing, I don't really think there's anyone who we feel bad for in those scenarios. But what I'm really talking about is like the naked storefront of a lot of those smaller businesses, whether they be small family run restaurants and things like that. Whether you're on one side of this or the other, I just want to throw it out there that if you're a small business owner, you've likely taken on a lot more personal risk in your life in many aspects to run that business and survive than any person who's just going to come up and scribble their tag or do a throw up on your storefront. So maybe because they've taken a bit more risk, and, you know, most times they're not making millions if it's a small family run store, maybe they should be respected a little bit for those risks that they're taking. And trust me, like, risks associated with running small businesses especially are massive, massive, massive. The smaller the store, usually the less money you're making and the bigger risk that you're taking on. And before you get all mad at me for having that in the list, just remember I put it as number 1 for the reason it is the one that is there to promote the most discussion, respectful discussion, I hope. And I'd love to get your guys' opinions on all of this to a certain extent. Obviously, like, the top 2 are obviously something we can discuss a lot, or there's probably going to be more people who are wanting to discuss those. So that'll be interesting to see. But I'm sure I could not have named all the controversial places to be doing graffiti, so if you guys do think of a few more, there's tons more really, put it in the comments and start a discussion about that. I'd love to read the stuff that you guys come up with for controversial places to do graffiti among graffiti writers. Or if you don't want to get involved in such a pesky discussion because controversial things being discussed, right? Drop a line, say hey in the comments, and you know, I'll tell you hello back and that sort of thing. Always just good to hear from the viewers. And I just wanted to say a quick thank you to everyone who's already picked up a Tags, Throws, and Pieces t-shirt or hoodie. I really do appreciate it. As I said, first link in the description is where you can pick one up if you haven't already, as well as where there's a few more designs. If you do happen to pick up one of the tees or a sweatshirt or whatever, feel free to snap a pic of it when you get it, and I'll be sure to feature it on the community tab on our channel here, just as a little thank you. We've got a lot more top 5 graffiti videos on our channel here, where there's over 320 plus graffiti related videos. There are a couple other controversial ones, like the one I did on 5 types of graffiti writers. I knew that was gonna piss a lot of people off, and it did, and you can see the smile on my face, right? So you can check that video. That's one of the best ones. There's also some more laid back top 5s, such as like one about some graffiti supplies if you're interested in that. Check those out on screen if you would. I hope to see you in one of those videos, or, you know, explore the channel, whatever works, do whatever. But until you see me again, peace.